Hi guys, welcome back to the Hoofison Ranch. Today I'm going to show you how I make our Wagyu beef tallow. This is triple rendered, so that means I render it down 3 times to get a cleaner, pure form of tallow. It has a very mild smell to it. It gets rid of a lot of that beefy smell the more times that you render it, so it can be used for soaps and other body products that you can make from it, which you can join us in the other videos where we show you how we make our soaps and whipped body butters and bath salts and all of those things out of the tallow. Our tallow is Wagyu, and Wagyu is high in omega-3 fatty acids, which are very health friendly. Tallow is actually more like avocado oil and coconut oil versus a vegetable oil that has polyunsaturated fats. Tallow is a much healthier oil for you in your daily diet. It has a lot of heart healthy benefits to it. So what you're going to need for the tallow process, tallow rendering process, you're going to need a crock pot. I have some really big crock pots because I do a lot of it at once. You're going to need some water, a strainer, some cheesecloth, and a rounded bowl. And you'll see through the process, and I'm kind of backpedaling because when I went to do this video on the first render, I had issues with the SD card and it was throwing a bunch of errors, so a lot of it did not get recorded, but I've rendered it 3 times through, so you'll definitely get to see how it's done. And if you do want to purchase any of our triple render tallow, we will have it for sale on our site, in our farm store, or you can do it yourself. That's fine too. If you know, it does take a long time to triple render. It takes about 3 days for me, but I also do really, really large batches. You could probably cut it down to about 2 days, but you also have to let the tallow solidify through each process. So regardless, it takes quite a bit of time. But we do have it. You can use it for cooking. You can use it for soaps, body butters. You can use it as a moisturizer just by itself. It is very similar to the body oils that we have. So it actually is one of the best moisturizers that you can possibly have. So let's get started. First, I want to tell you, because I didn't get a lot on the first video, you're going to want to put your tallow chunks into your crock pot. You're going to cover them with the water, and then you're just going to cover it up and then turn on your heat. Don't get it too hot. You want to cook it very slowly. So just cook it down until it's almost all melted out. You're probably going to have some gristle pieces at the beginning, or at least the first render. The second and third render take a lot less time than the first, but just boil it down until you just see the gristle pieces. And then I do have that video on here where I'll show you how we pull those out, strain them, and move on to the next step. So here we go, guys. Okay, so I have the water in here. I have turned this to 150 degrees. These pans cook really fast and really hot, and I don't want to cook the tallow. I want to melt it down in the water. So I have it set at 150 degrees. It is going to take quite a bit of time for this first rendering process. The second and third don't take quite as long, but the first, we have a lot of tallow in here that has to be melted down, so it's going to take, definitely going to take some time. Okay, so we have the tallow rendered, And there's still quite a bit of gristle pieces in here that we'll have to strain out. So I have a bowl and a strainer with a bit of cheesecloth in there. We're going to put these in to the bowl. Use something that's not going to melt. And just fill away into the bowl. When we get enough on this in here, we will discard the gristle pieces that we have left over. And then we're going to let the tallow cool, and the water will sink to the bottom. And we'll flip out the tallow, clean off any impurities on the bottom, and then put it back in and render again in more water and let it boil down. This process will take a lot less time than the first process. And then once that's done, we will do it again. That way it is rendered 3 times over. And we will have a nice, clean, purified tallow that you can use for cooking, or you can use in soaps and body butters and those things, which we're going to do, and we'll do a video of that as well. Okay, so we have some of the tallow rendered. That's one of the bowls. I still have a whole nother pan to do, and I have several more bowls, but letting them cool now, and then when they harden, we'll scrape off some of the impurities and then put them back in to render again with more water. So once these cool, I'll pull them out and show you how I scrape off the impurities and how the tallow fat separates from the water in these bowls. It's nice to have these round bowls because you can tip the fat right out and it leaves that water on the bottom. Okay, so I've let the tallow cool. I've already pulled some out. The underneath you'll find the impurities, and you can scrape them off and discard them, and then you'll put the clean white tallow back in your pan, and you're going to add the water again and re-render it. So see, got out of this. Some of it was at the end, and it has a lot more water in it. This pan doesn't seem to want to cool fast enough, so I'm probably going to have to let this one cool a little bit more to get the rest of the tallow out of it. And like this one is mostly water because it was the very bottom of the batch. So I'll take that off, rinse off the impurities on that tallow so I'm not wasting anything. And then I'll add it to the pot once I've rinsed the dark impurities off, which you can see how dark they are in that bowl versus that super white tallow, which didn't hardly have any water in it, but it does still have some on the bottom. I've got to get out and clean off the bottom of this tallow. So I'm going to get these put in, rinsed off, put in. You can see with this one here, this one had the impurities on the bottom. This stuff I'll scrape off and discard. Because that's your impurities. And then the more we render this, the more the impurities we get off of it. Being this is the first render, we'll get quite a bit off of it, but you're still going to get that beefy smell until your third render, which you're going to want to render it 3 times for making soaps and lotions and things like that, because nobody wants to smell like beef per se. I don't know anybody that does. So clean all that off the bottom. get these going, get everything in the pot, and I'll get back with you as soon as we start putting the water in and starting our second render process. So this here is a good example of what you'll see when you pull it out of the bowl. Some of them I pulled them out too early, they weren't done. But here's the clean tallow, here's the impurities on the bottom that we're going to remove and put the clean into the pot and render again. I have a huge mess right now, but if you're gonna make tallow, expect to make a mess. It's gonna happen. But we had 2 full pans in the beginning of original tallow. We boiled down, and now it's pretty full, but at least we're down to 1 pan, and it'll decrease a little bit more from here, but nothing too major after the first rendering. Some chunks out of here. Impurities. This one here is still warm. It's on a metal pan, so I'm gonna have to let this one cool a bit longer before I do this second rendering. And we'll be back. Okay, so getting my mess cleaned up for dinner, my tallow mess. Big mess for dinner, and going out in the wonderful snow to barbecue these awesome steaks. Grabbed a chuck steak and a bone-in ribeye and some potatoes. I'm gonna throw these on there. You know you're a cattle rancher when you've been rendering tallow all day and then cooking beef steaks for dinner and potatoes on the grill in a blizzard in Wyoming. That's all right, we enjoy it. Going down to check the steaks, because with Wagyu you're gonna get flames, because that intermuscular marbling fat has a different melting point, and it will flame up your grill. So definitely keep an eye on your grill when you're cooking a nice Wagyu steak, because it will flame up on you. Super excited. I'm starving. I ate all day. Super busy with all of this. And most people are going to say, holy crap, that girl makes a dang mess. But I'm not really doing this for YouTube. I'm just videoing it at the same time that I'm doing it. And I have a lot of tallow that I am making, so that way I can make cooking tallow, tallow soap, body butters, tallow infused bath salts, all of those things. So, and yeah, it's super messy. It's real life. All right, so back out here again. Flames again. Always normal with Wagyu. But I'm gonna check the internal temperature. I like to do our Wagyu steaks at 135 or 140 and then let them rest for 10 minutes. And it makes them just an awesome medium rare. And they are just about perfect. Let's see where we're at. Still got a ways. Let's check this one. This one's going up. Check this one again. No, that one's not ready. This one's almost ready. So over here, this one over here. Flip our taters. Try not to catch my shirt on fire. And should be eating here pretty soon. Be delicious. Come back out and we'll check the temperature again. See where we're at. Nah, not quite there. Move this dude over. Check his temperature. He's about right where I want him. So I'll probably set him on top for a minute. Let this dude over here cook a little longer. And we will be ready to eat. And then I will join you guys after dinner for our second rendering of our tallow. Okay, so now we're finally going to start on our second render. So I have the first render tallow in here, and I'm going to add the water. We will render this batch down, do the same thing again, put it in the bowls, take out the clean tallow, or the bad tallow, and then start again. Okay, so our second render is done, and it did not take long at all, probably about an hour or so. So now we're going to do the same thing as we did before, but it's going to strain through the cheesecloth and everything a lot easier as well, because we don't have all of those gristle pieces and things to get in the way. This is every time that we render this, it's just going to become clearer and clearer and clearer. So I'm going to put all these in, let them sit to harden up. We'll pop them out of the bowls again, and then go for our third render. And then tomorrow we will be able to make soaps and all kinds of goodies. Super exciting. Looks great. It's super clear compared to how it was before. The water will still set on the bottom and separate from the oil. And then once we do, after we do the third render, we'll heat the tallow, the finished product tallow, over a double boiler to make the soap, mix the lye and all of those things. We're going to do several different things. We're going to do soap, body butter, bath bombs, bath salts, lip balm, so multiple different things with this tallow. 'cause there is a ton of uses for it. And then we'll also put some in jars. So if anyone wants to purchase rendered tallow to make their own soaps or anything like that, we will have that available on our website, realwagyubeef.com. So you can buy that either for cooking or for making your own soaps. It works well for both, especially when it's triple rendered, because it doesn't smell like beef anymore. And you get a nice clean product. Okay, so we're finally done with our third and final rendering. So I'm going to do the same thing as I did before, strain it through the cheesecloth, let it sit, and then take the tallow off the top. And then I'm going to cook it down in a double boiler to soften it up, and then I'm going to put it into 32-ounce mason jars because I like to keep them at 30 ounces for soap making. Just makes it easier so that I can mix the lye in the correct amounts. So this took so much less time, and it's so clear looking now. Looks great. The more you render it, the shorter it takes to melt back down. But I still want to get any impurities out of there with this cheesecloth that I can, if there is any. I haven't seen any yet. There's nothing collecting in the cheesecloth at all, so it looks like it is quite purified. Looks lovely. Okay, so we're finally done with our final render of the tallow. Gonna pop it off and scrape off. There's barely any impurities on there now. I mean, pretty much nothing. That's it. And the good thing about this pot is I can use it like a double boiler. Just put some water in the bottom, and then I can melt these in the top. It works perfect. And then I'm going to sterilize these jars over here after this gets melted. And then I'm going to put it in those jars. Come out of there. Okay, so I'm going to try a little different approach in getting this out because it's just not out of the sides very well. The knife was working, but I don't think that's working any better. I think the knife was doing better. There is no water in this one at all. This is complete tallow. Well, that's good. Scoop it out, though. There's very minimal water on the bottom, and it's completely clear. So that's great. Turn that down a bit. So get all of this going from all the bowls. in here, boil this down, and we will be ready to jar it. This one's nice and broke loose. That one had almost zero water in the bottom of it. Some have a lot, some have a little. There's like no impurities on the bottom of this. Literally nothing. Which is great. So we know this is very, very well rendered, purified tallow. Oh, there's a lot of water. It seems grainy to me. I don't like the way that tallow feels. There's a lot of water, so that was the bottom of the batch. It's very grainy feeling, so that's not something we're gonna keep. We're gonna discard that bowl. It's mostly water anyway. This one is another all tallow. There's no water in here whatsoever, which is great. Roll this out. Ah! Be ready to melt this down. Okay, now that the tallow is boiled down in the double boiler, I'm gonna fill up my 32-ounce mason jars, but I'm only gonna put 30 ounces in each one because that is the blend for my tallow soaps. The exact amount I need of fat for the lye ratio, which I'll do that in another video when we do make the soaps. We will have tallow, rendered tallow for sale. Not this batch. This batch is going for body care products that we will be making in the next video. But I have a lot more tallow to render. So we will have plenty of jars for sale. And 2 cups, and then I'll do 14 ounces. All right, trying not to make too big of a mess here. So after you're done putting it in the jars, you can just seal it with a mason jar and then just put it in your cabinet. It'll stay good for very long time, and then just pull it out and use it as needed for cooking, for making soaps, or other bath products, which we will have videos on. If you do want to buy some of our triple rendered tallow, you can buy it on our website at realwagyubeef.com, and we will have it on there. Also, our soaps and body care products that are made directly with the Wagyu beef tallow. Okay, so we got all of these filled up. Now I'm going to put the lids on them. As you can see, look how beautiful and clear that Wagyu triple rendered tallow looks. It is going to be perfect for cooking and for soaps. Okay, so now that I have filled the jars, our product is done. I've let them sit all night to harden up in there. So this is the triple rendered Wagyu tallow product. And join us on our next videos on how to make tallow soaps, tallow whipped body butters, bath bombs, bath salts, all of those things that we can make out of this tallow. If you do want to buy any of the triple rendered tallow that I make here from our Wagyu beef, it will be on our website for sale as well. They will be in the 32-ounce jars. So this is actually my half jar of what I had left, being this size. This one I'll probably use first for the salts and the bath bombs, because the measurement is by teaspoons and tablespoons versus the weight ounces and the lye for the soap making, which is extremely crucial with the soap making. I want it to be the least amount of lye as I can possibly make it, so that way irritation on the skin is much less likely to occur, even if they are cured for the 4 to 6 weeks time that I do cure them for before selling them. So thank you for watching our videos, and like and subscribe.